Our gang is sexy. All right, so I'm going to give you sort of a prequel. I couldn't pass talking about this first turn of play in the original Tattered Flags, Gettysburg to Wheatfield, which by now everybody knows the new one's coming. The revamp is coming, or I don't know if it's a redesign or whatever, but it's coming. We're going to see it here very, very soon. So, but this first turn, there was too much excitement. Since it's almost impossible to get me to play miniatures games, this somebody lured me in with this because it's got counters on a nice paper map with terrain features, and this is literally a miniatures game only with cardboard counters and a paper map. Pretty map too. Obviously Rick Barber. You can tell a Rick Barber map by looking at it. All right, so you're not going to see the rest of this gameplay from me until I release the play on July 2nd. So you just have to wait. So that ought to tell you something, that I'm going to have something that's released on July 1st. I'm still brainstorming what I want to do for July 3rd. All right, so because I think everybody and their brother is going to be doing something pick its charge. I may have to do something a little different. All right, so anyhow, I just want to talk about this first turn. So the game works off of commands. It works off of battle cards, which it's not a big stack. It's just maybe 20 cards, 30 cards at the most, I think, that have different things on them that you can apply or use at your discretion. There might be certain times when you can use the cards. I mean, that pretty much looks up like this stuff right here. And you can choose to use them that, some might affect your opponent, which you're going to learn about here in just a second. And some might benefit you or affect your units or something like that. And you might pick a card where you got to roll a dice for whatever event it's going to be on there. And there might be one item that's bad, which you're going to learn about here in just a second, okay? I'm not going to get into too much details of rules. So the rule book for this original one is only 12 pages. But let me tell you something. Those 12 pages rules cover a lot of ground, and amazingly enough, they explain a lot of stuff in such a small little area. But I haven't hit a blank spot yet. I got one item I need to figure out about is how the going to ground gets removed and stuff like that. From what I'm reading so far, you can't remove any disordered markers that are on the units, which is your key casualty thing. Because once you hit a disordered level of 4, if you take another hit, that's a step loss where you flip a counter over. All right. Now, the only issue I have with this game right here is the damn counter colors are the same in the background. Okay, you have to look. I mean, you can tell this is a Confederate unit, that's a Union unit. But if you look real close to the flags, plus if you know the leaders and you look at the regiments, most of the states, you can tell who's Union, who's Confederate. So get by that, it's no big deal. All right, so now let's do a quick overview of what happened on this first turn. Well, the Confederates have it right off the bat, and Anderson's going to come storming on from the south edge of the map with his entire brigade, plus he's got a regiment from Robertson that's been attached. All right. And these guys are the ones that coming through the Rose Farm and stuff, turned in towards the Stony Hill. A lot of the fighting had already been going on over here. And you see Ward's, two regiments from Ward's brigade. They had already been in fighting all day, Devil's Den, the other side, just that way. And they were the right flank over there. So they're involved in this, but they stay in defend orders all the time, unless a battle card changes them, and they're always out of command, but you activate them with de Trobriand from the 3rd Corps, all right? So the initial front line was along here. De Trobriand had some regiments that were sitting out here in this rocky ground. This is rocky woods, very heavy, okay? And if you go to Gettysburg, the triangular field and all that stuff, and your Hawks Ridge and anything, this lays out pretty good, all right, because it's pretty thick and dense in this area right here before you enter that Wheatfield. And there's your Wheatfield over there. So there's the stone wall, and they were stretched out along here down the wooden. I had them down the wooden fence. Well, actually, I had these two regiments facing this way on the stone wall. They've since did what they call a bend. Okay, so you move a column, you move a battle line, you can be limbered, you can be unlimbered, you can bend, you can pivot, pivot wheel. They talk about that in the rules too. For a first generation of a game like this, I'm so glad they're bringing this back again, because, man, this could be endless for Civil War fights around the entire, from 1861 to 65. So much could be done. Oh yeah. You can tell I'm excited, right? Because I'm rambling. Let's get back to the battle. So Anderson rolls on. He's the first activation. You have opportunity fire, which you're going to suffer a dice penalty if you opportunity fire, but you might get lucky, get the right hits, and cause a unit to be busted up or super disorganized before he can even get into the fight while he's on the move. Or you can wait, and when he's fired at, he can return fire. That's your non-phasing player. All right? The phasing player, depending on what type of formation he's in, which, of course, Anderson's in attack, units by their veteranship, we'll call it, and you'll see there's a little marker on the counters, and they have a chart where you can look. Some might get 4 actions. Certain ones get 3 actions, blah, blah, blah. And then your formation will determine, hey, how many move actions can you execute? How many fire actions? Can you change formation? Stuff like that. Well, attackers, people in attack mode, get 3 actions. They can move twice and fire. They can move, fire, or they can move, fire, then move, okay? But you can only ever fire the one time. So Anderson rolled up in here. The front regiments from de Trobriand here conducted opportunity fire. And yeah, they knocked it. Well, first off, these guys are getting disordered, moving through this terrain. You're going to suffer disorder points. Now, excuse me, the disorder points don't necessarily screw you up, but like I say, once you hit 4, if you suffer another hit of any kind, you're going to flip a step, and that's what's called a casualty. So you can see where some of these guys already, as they moved out, they've already hit that disorder level here. Now, you'll see that there's 2 regiments, or 2 stands right here. That's just 1 regiment. This is 1 regiment. So the disorder applies to the whole regiment across the board. And these guys got to be hinged. All stands in a regiment have to be hinged to each other. They got to be connected. Whether they're bent like those or they're in battle line straight across, they got to be connected to each other. And then your leader, who he happens to be sitting right here, he has a command range, which is Anderson is fine. He's got enough range to cover all those. Plus, he's a 3-star leader, classified as a 3-star leader in here, which is, I think, the best, where de Trobriand's only a 2-star. All right, so the fight breaks out. All these guys move on. De Trobriand's 2 regiments here fire some opportunity fire. And the Anderson's boys move in, and they fire. All these Georgians move in, and they fire. All right? Then the Confederate turn, they only have the 1 brigade. So that's all. They're only going to have 1 activation. Well, the Union has 3. They have Tilton, they have Schweitzer, Ward is part of de Trobriand, and then they have de Trobriand from 3rd Corps. So you've got 5th Corps, 5th Corps, and, these guys are attached to 3rd Corps, and they're part of 3rd Corps now. So they get their activation. Well, we started with de Trobriand. Now, this is so cool. So much has happened. Like I say, it's hard to tell with the units right here, right? 5th Michigan was sitting right here. They drew on a battle card. The only dice roll I could roll that was probably what I didn't want to roll was a charge. Now, granted, they were in defense mode, but the battle card can change that. So they were ordered to conduct a charge at the nearest facing unit, which was Anderson's 59th Georgia, had 3 regiments in line, or 3 stands. Big regiment right here. Well, if you look real close, you'll notice that the 5th Michigan took 1 casualty. Now, granted, they're a disrupted force, so they ain't going to take much more. But they destroyed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps from the 3 stands of Anderson's, the 59th Georgia right here, and sent them. And it took a while. So the deal is, with you do a charge, and then it turns into bayonet combat or close quarters combat. You fight it till somebody runs away, or you eliminate that regiment that you're engaging with. The 5th Michigan, those old, what are they, Wolverines? Wolverines. They did their job. They didn't want to do that, but the battle card said because of the dice I rolled, they had to charge, and it turned out in their favor. Now, unfortunately, they're stuck in these Arkansas troops, these Georgia troops. They're probably going to be in trouble here unless they can somehow get out. The deal is with their card, once they drew that action and conducted it, they were done. There's nothing else they could do. All right. Well, from Burling's brigade, who these guys are attached to de Trobriand, who's this here, the 8th New Jersey, they were the ones sitting right here, and they were doing a fine job with opportunity fire and standing their ground. So when they activated, there was an orders change that was done for de Trobriand, played by the Confederates, where the Union had to change their orders for that brigade that was being activated. And They were successful, but the Union leader got to change. So he changed from defend to attack. So they fired, boom, 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 at these guys right here. They did do one. No, actually, they didn't hit nothing. They rolled like 4 or 5 dice, didn't hit nothing. These guys returned fire and got 1 hit. They did a morale check, and they rolled like a 2. They rolled a 3. And then depending on their disordered status or whatever, they broke and they ran. Now that's 4 inches they got to run now. Tilton wasn't sitting the way he is now, but he clipped through one unit, and fortunately enough, they successfully passed their morale check, and he booked 4 inches away. All right. Then the turn proceeded with Tilton activating, and he just did a shift with some of these guys, and then pivoted and moved this guy this way, trying to get up here to cover that front that Burling left. The 4th Michigan and the 32nd Massachusetts, they sidled. And then what is this back here? The 62nd Pennsylvania, they were along this fence line here. They swung, so they're going to start moving in. And then these guns came up. They're sitting on this elevation line right here. So when the ribs come out through this area here, these batteries right here will be able to fire at them. And we pivoted or bent the 17th Maine so they can cover both corners. And Ward moved forward. Now, he's always going to be out of command during the game, so he loses 1 action. And he can never break defend orders unless a battle card tells him to. So, like I said, you get your battle cards, look at them closely, decide, they tell you when you can play them, how to use them, whatever. And it's pretty cool because it's not an overwhelming thing. I haven't looked at all of them yet, but so far some of the ones I look at have some pretty cool options. Union got some more guns on. They're going to roll in down here, stay on these elevations here. But, so, those of you guys out there that are hardcore minis players, I know you can picture this with miniatures. I think somebody's put a couple snapshots up using some small miniatures representing these things in front of the units, which is kind of cool. You could probably actually construct you some miniatures out of this and maybe even tag the bases as to what they are. But, yeah, man, come on. This is the old one. I've already seen the snapshot of the new one, and hope to be seeing the game here real soon. I can't wait to get it because this is none of those systems. This is just a small piece. This is not even, I don't think, the entire Wheatfield fight, because there's so much more land back in here and over here where troops came from, or those way and that way, to get into this fight. Like 2nd Corps, which those units, I don't know if I have them in here or not. I know Kershaw and Sims are in here. I don't know. I have to look through my counter mix again. But, yeah, oh, man. So far, 1 turn, in and out of the rule book to make sure I get things right. Give me a couple turns, and I think I'll have it down pretty good. Good detailed rules in a small rule book. Little maps, gorgeous. Using your little gauges to do fire and movement and stuff like that. You've got command. You've got modes, formations, orders. Troops can go shaken. Troops can break. Troops can get reduced. You have bayonet combat, which we know that wasn't really that familiar. You've got cannons, okay? So, big fun right now. I want to get this posted. This is just the teaser. I will play the game out, but like I say, you won't see the entire video pop until July 2nd. So, keep your mind open for that. Get over to the channel, subscribe, and set that notify bell so you can see when these come out. Come on, Gettysburg's the next big thing that everybody's looking to see happen. I'm sure everybody's digging their games out. All right, we'll talk to y'all soon. Again, this was Hermann Luttmann's Tattered Flags. This was the first one in the series, Gettysburg to Wheatfield, and the new one's on its way. See y'all soon.